Hi everyone, my name is Corindon Hartog and I am just going to talk briefly here about information related to playing sports in college for students who may be interested in that and wanting to pursue a career in athletics beyond high school. So this presentation is geared towards students or parents of high school athletes and student athletes. And we're going to talk about NCAA and NAIA eligibility, so two organizations of collegiate athletics, the two major organizations. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the recruiting process, but primarily focusing on the requirements that you need to meet in order to be eligible to play college sports and how to register with the eligibility centers. All right, this is just a little bit about me, just so you know who's talking here. My name is Corindon Hartog. I am a guidance and learning specialist at Clovis High School currently. I have been a school counselor for 7 years. I coached basketball for 9 years, and then I also had my own personal experience playing basketball in high school, going through the recruiting experience, and then I did play for 1 year at Fresno State, and then I started coaching at that point. So that's just a little bit about me so that you know what I'm speaking from. Today I'll talk a lot about the academic side of things, but there will be some recruiting information just scattered throughout, and that's just what I've gathered over coaching and playing as well. So let's start with what NCAA is, because this may be a new concept or term for some students or parents watching. So NCAA is an organization that oversees most collegiate athletics. You'll see there are over 1,000 colleges and universities within the NCAA organization. And this slide might be a little outdated, but it's still going to be pretty consistent. There's over 100 conferences, 40 affiliated organizations, almost 500,000 student athletes go through NCAA. A lot of teams, a lot of sports. And then that last one's important to note. There are 3 different divisions. So as I talk today, I'm going to cover some eligibility requirements, and they do differ between divisions. So good to know, 3 different divisions, and they are all distinct. So let's get into some of those requirements. Division 1 and Division 2 both have 16 core courses that students have to take during their 4 years of high school to be eligible. There's basically these days just 2 requirements for D1 or D2. It's the 16 core courses, and then there's a GPA requirement that I'll talk about in a little bit. I usually tell students that if you are wanting to play sports in college, you should aim for Division 1 eligibility. That way you're eligible for anything else. Because if you meet Division 1 eligibility, you're going to be eligible for Division 2 and Division 3. But this slide will spell out for you the differences. You'll see for Division 1, you have to have 4 years of English, 3 years of math at Algebra 1 or higher, 2 years of science, 1 additional year of English, math, or science, 2 years of social science, and then 4 years of any of those categories, or foreign language or comparative religion. So basically, throughout your 4 years of high school, you have to take a little bit beyond what your school's graduation requirements probably are, and even a little beyond most college admission requirements, minimum. So you'll just want to make sure that if you're looking to play sports in college, that you intentionally plan out from the start of high school how you're going to fit these 16 courses in. You have to also, you'll note right under that Division 1 heading, it says you have to complete 10 of your core courses, including 7 in English, math, or science before the 7th semester. So that's the end of your junior year. I would say, most of you, if you're on track for graduation and college admission, are probably going to meet that. But again, you'll just want to double check. There are worksheets that you can find online that help you track your core courses. So I would definitely encourage you to utilize those. And maybe set up a time with your school counselor to make sure that you are on track if this is a potential goal of yours to play sports in college. Division 2 is similar. There's still 16 courses. It's just the way they're split up between the categories that differs a little bit. So But like I said, if you're eligible for Division I, you'll be eligible for Division II. There is a GPA requirement. It's 2.3, and by the way, this GPA is based solely on those NCAA core courses. You want to make sure in those core courses you are getting good grades. 2.3 for Division I, 2.2 for Division II. You'll notice in the background there's an SAT, ACT sliding scale. I kept that in only because you might have parents, high school coaches, college coaches who remember a day when they required the SAT, ACT, but in recent years that has been removed as a requirement, so students do no longer have to take the SAT or ACT, they just have to meet that GPA requirement. So 16 core courses, GPA requirement, that's what you have to meet as a minimum. Now, I will add that you still have to be able to get into the colleges that you are applying to. And I'll talk about this a little bit more in depth later, but just keep in mind this is strictly to meet minimum NCAA requirements is what I'm talking about here. Division III is its own entity. So for Division III schools, there's no official NCAA requirements you have to meet. It's really based on the college themselves. So if you're looking at Division III, you'll just want to make sure that you meet admission for the college, and then they'll determine what kind of financial aid you receive and that sort of thing. I would add that Division III schools do not have athletic scholarships to give. That does not mean that your student will not get any sort of financial aid. In fact, a lot of your Division III schools are more intentional about finding academic scholarships or other financial aid avenues because they know they don't have any athletics money to give. So that's Division III. When you are planning to play sports in college, you have to register through the NCAA Eligibility Center. This is another good clarification point because a lot of your college coaches, high school coaches, or just older athletes are going to remember registering through something called NCAA Clearinghouse. So if you ever hear that term thrown out, this is what they're referring to. It's now called the NCAA Eligibility Center. There are 2 account types that you can register for. If you're getting recruited by a Division I or Division II school, you'll need an official certification account. And that's where they'll ask you questions that determine if you're still an amateur athlete. That's also what you will need if you are going to sign a national letter of intent with a Division I or Division II school, or if you're going to go on an official visit. You'll have to have the certification account. It does cost $90, and they'll require a transcript from your school, and they'll assess if you've met those 16 core courses in GPA requirement. If you have not been recruited by a Division I or Division II school yet, if you're undecided or you're getting recruited by Division III, all you need to do is a profile page. This is newer as well, probably within the last 5 to 7 years. So some of your coaches who have been around for a long time might not even know that this exists. But that profile page will still get your NCAA Eligibility Center ID number, and it will start the process. So I usually encourage students, if they have not been seriously recruited by D1 or D2 school yet, save your $90 and just do the free profile page to start with. If in the end of the day you start getting recruited by a D1 or D2 school and you have your profile page already done, you can just sign back in and click transition to a certification account, and then they'll ask you the questions about amateurism, you'll pay the fee, they'll do the transcript process, all of that. So there's still a time to do that if you do start getting recruited by Division I or Division II. In the meantime, the profile page should suffice for starting that eligibility process. This is the website you can go to. This is that Eligibility Center when you are ready to do your NCAA profile. So you can write that down. You can also just search on Google NCAA Eligibility Center. It will pull up a page that looks like this. This is actually at the bottom of their home page, and you'll see there those 3 options. So the one on the left, that's the profile page that I was talking about. That will suffice for a good starting point if you're a freshman or sophomore, or even a junior or senior who's just not 100% sure which one they'll go to, but they at least want to get the ball rolling. That's where you'd want to start. The middle option, that's really a very specific group that's usually just international athletes. So I'd say most of our students would not do that one. But the third one, the option 3, that is the official certification account. So if you're already getting contacted by Division I or Division II, or if you don't mind just eating that $90 fee, then that you can go straight to that if you like, or you can, like I said, start with the profile and transition to certification account later. All right, so that's NCAA. NAIA, which is the other primary organization that college athletics falls into, is a smaller division, or is a smaller organization, typically smaller schools, I should say. You'll notice there's still a lot of student athletes that are involved in NAIA, still quite a few schools, and then that scholarships number is a good one to note. A lot of times our student athletes don't think of NAIA because they are smaller schools, but if your student really wants to play sports, there is a spot to play. It just might take some legwork to reach out to coaches. And NAIA, because they're smaller and sometimes more expensive schools, they do often, similar to like Division III, they're more intentional about finding financial aid for your student athletes. So don't be afraid by a sticker price of a school. Make sure that you go through the process of working with coaches and working with financial aid offices, because your student might be able to get even a full ride somewhere, as if they're willing to go to a small school, possibly out of state. To play at NAIA, they also have eligibility requirements, but they are different than NCAA. You have to be a graduate of an accredited high school. You have to have at least a 2.3 GPA or meet 2 of the requirements in that table. So if you have a 2.3 GPA or at least and are on track to graduate, you're going to be eligible without anything else. But if you don't have a 2.3 and you have 2 of the following, you'd still be eligible. A minimum of an 18 on the ACT or a 970 on the SAT, a 2.0 GPA, or graduating in the top half of your class. So, hope that makes sense, those requirements. You do need to register with Play NAIA if you want to be eligible to play at an NAIA school. playnaia.org is the website you'd go to. It does cost a little fee as well for that. And I'd say for NAIA, I would also encourage to wait until you're getting recruited by those schools to do this registration process. It will not take you very long. And then some final reminders just for recruiting. So first, don't wait for coaches to find you. Some of our high school student athletes will think or will imagine that they're just going to be playing their sport and the coaches will see them play. That's not usually how it happens. So I would encourage you, if you are wanting to play sports, if your students wanting to play sports, to reach out to coaches. There's a couple ways to do that. You can fill out athletic recruit questionnaires through college websites. A lot of times they'll have one that will then get sent to the coaches. When I was coaching, would also compile emails to send directly to coach emails. You can find those on their website. And if you have a good template of an email that you can send out with a highlight reel, if you have one, any major stats that you have, your academic record, GPA and or transcript, and then just a little bit about yourself, you can send that to some coaches at schools you're looking at. So I would, just encourage you. It's never too early to start reaching out to get your name on their radar. There may be some limitations on how much coaches can contact you, so don't be discouraged if you don't hear back right away. But it's never a bad idea to get your name on coaches' radars. And then if you're in areas playing for travel ball or for school ball and you're, let's say, playing in San Diego, maybe find a couple schools in San Diego to reach out to and say, I'm playing at this site at this and this time if you'd like to come watch me play. So all good ways, but the point is, don't wait for them to come find you. Do the legwork on your own. Secondly, coaches will care about grades and character as much as athletic ability, if not more so. So I have had a lot of athletes who were exceptional athletes, but if your grades aren't up to par, or if you have a poor work ethic, or you're getting frustrated because your team's not playing well, or you're not a good leader, you're not going to get recruited. So make sure that you're holding yourself with class and good character on the field, on the court, in the pool, wherever you're playing. and a coach will watch for that. I'll also say for our parents watching that coaches do watch parents. So they don't want a crazy parent in their stands any more than a high school coach does. So make sure that you're holding yourself well, because you don't want to affect your child's chance of getting recruited simply because you're getting more into the game than you probably should. Thirdly, you still have to meet college admissions requirements as well as NCAA. So I briefly hit on this earlier. Even if you are meeting the minimum requirements for NCAA, if you can't get into the school, the coach won't be able to get you in. They will have a certain amount of spots, for their athletes, but you do have to meet at least the minimum college admissions requirements. If you're aiming for some top schools like Stanford or Princeton or even UCLA, you want to make sure that you're competing with the average applicant. So if you are not, even if you meet their minimum admission requirements, but you're not close to the average student who gets in, it's going to be really hard for a coach to work with their admissions department at the school to get you in. So make sure that you're aware of what the college requirements are in addition to NCAA, because you'll have to meet both of those to be able to get in. There's nothing that a coach can do if you don't even meet the minimum admissions, but I would say you should even be looking to be above those minimum admissions requirements for colleges, just so that you make it easy for your coach to help you get into that school. And then lastly, set up a time to meet with your high school counselor to make sure you're on track. Same thing there, be your own self-advocate. Don't wait for someone to come find you and say, are you planning to play sports in college? Go in and let somebody know, and then they can help you make sure that you're taking the courses you need to take. Be a self-advocate. Here's some final resources that I'll leave you with, and you can screenshot this or write them down. If you want more information about NCAA, there's the official site. If you want to find what schools are in which division, that's a good website to utilize, resource to utilize, because you can look up which are in Division I, which are in Division II, which are in Division III. That third website has the recruiting calendar, so it spells out when coaches can contact student athletes, because remember that they are restricted in that. So it may be that they can't reach out to you until after the summer of your junior year, or it may be that they can't reach out to you until the fall of your senior year. So every sport's a little different. You'll want to look at those and just be knowledgeable. There's usually compliance offices at college campuses that are monitoring those to make sure they're not overstepping or breaking any restrictions, but it's just a good thing for you to know based on your sport and your situation. And then the last two are related to NAIA. There's also a Find an NAIA school, so you can see what schools fall in that organization, and then the official website for them as well. All right, well, thank you for taking the time to listen to me present a little bit on this today. And if you have any other questions, here's the contact information for NCAA and NAIA, or you can always reach out to your high school and they might be able to provide you with some more specific information related to your student situation. So hope you have a great day and good luck in the recruiting process.